Sean Connery brings a classic Arthurian tale to life, and then it just kinda aimlessly spins its wheels until the movie decides it's over. We watch Sword of the Valiant, The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, today on Nothing Movies.
I wanted to talk about my most recent addiction.
Okay.
My name is Kaz Lesgard, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Kaz.
Hi, everyone. Recently, a friend of mine turned me on to this internet game called Sinna2Nerdle.
Okay.
It's a very odd title.
That's a very clunky title.
It is a very clunky title. Well, wait until I tell you that it's the word Sinna, and then the letter 2, and then the word nerdle, which is not a word in the English language.
I mean, Cinna nerd, that's pretty much how
nerd, you'd think so.
That's how I describe you to people.
I feel like they're trying to get on the Wordle bubble with the nerdle side of it. I don't know what the letter 2 denotes. Anyway, I'm getting wildly off track. So basically what this is you go into a lobby and it's a one-on-one game that you play with another person on the internet. Everyone has like code names. You don't know who anyone is.
Sure.
And basically the crux of the game is that it gives you a movie to start off with. Whoever's turn it is has to name another movie that is linked to that movie. So,
oh, you'd be perfect for a game like that.
If the movie is played as Titanic, you can pick The Wolf of Wall Street, the link being Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sure, yeah.
And then you're only allowed 3 links per actor or whatnot, so you can play 2 other movies that Leonardo DiCaprio is in, and then Leonardo DiCaprio is out. And you can play actors, you can play directors. If you're a real freak like me, you can play composers or cinematographers, authors of the source material.
Yeah, you must have the high score in this thing.
I've been on and off the leaderboards. There are some absolute monsters of this game. My biggest pitfall, of course, is foreign films. If someone backs me into a corner with like a Truffaut or a Kurosawa, I'm basically dead. I'm basically dead immediately. But yeah, you just go back and forth until someone can't answer. And I thought I'd bring it up because, as you can probably understand, my ace in the hole
is our fucking podcast.
Has been hosting this podcast, Jameson.
Okay.
Because more often than not, if I manage to find a way to trick somebody into a third link and then I play a movie we've covered on this podcast, it is almost guaranteed to win. And I have like strategies now where it's like someone plays Rocky IV, and so like, oh, okay, well then I'll play Blackjack. That's a movie that most people aren't familiar with, so they'll play, on the second link, they'll have to play something with Dolph Lundgren, and then I'll close the deal with a little Pups Alone. And then that usually always works. So I just wanted to bring that up here, because truly, when I say addicted, I mean like,
all you
cripplingly addicted.
All you Cineturtle new Secret of the Ooze motherfuckers out there.
Cineturtle.
This is the level of challenge that you are facing up against here.
Yeah. So
gotta get up pretty early in the morning to beat old Kaz Lesgard.
And I get up pretty early in the morning.
To beat yourself.
And then I mean, that's unrelated to the game.
Yeah.
But then after that, yes, y'all usually get a few rounds in.
All right. Well, that was Kaz's plug for Sinna2Nerdle. Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to Nothing Movies, where we ask the question, the fuck is this? The fuck to nerd... Nope. No, gave up. No, I gave up on that one. It's the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography and choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made and decide whether or not they've got a certain something or if they're just a whole lot of nothing. I'm Lesgard. Kaz Lesgard.
Oh... And I'm James Rafter, not going with the son this go around, because we're...
That's right.
Yep.
No, he's the son of no one.
That's right.
Today. And the reason we're flipping the...
We're doing this stupid thing with our names.
We're doing flip-flop applesauce with our names is because we're starting our new miniseries, and that is The Nothing Movies of James Bond Actors, Part 1?
Oh.
Because there are 6 actors who have played James Bond. and our miniseries are usually only 3 films. So perhaps next year we will look into the careers of Messieurs Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig. But today we're doing the original 3.
The OG 3.
The OG Bonds, and we will be looking at the most anonymous films of Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and yes, George Lazenby.
Remember him?
Who some of you may be shocked to learn has been in more than that one movie. He has been in, I mean...
Oh, not more than one Bond movie, but...
no, it was only one. It was one and done for him in terms of Bond, but he did pop up in a handful of other movies.
Believe it or not. Poor George Lazenby. We'll get to it.
The link between all of those Lazenby movies is that you have heard of absolutely none of them. But we will get to that because today we're starting off with Mr. Sean Connery and one of his...
The game is mine!
One of his... there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of... One of the most oft imitated
Thanks,
actors
Daryl Hammond.
in all of... Yes, and it's entirely because of Daryl Hammond. But no, today we're talking about 1984's Sword of the Valiant... The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Definitely the longest title of any movie we've ever covered on this show before.
I thought for sure that would have been not another romantic wrestling comedy guest starring Andrew and was it Casey?
And Casey.
Yeah.
Well, that was long because that was a long title and we tacked on 2 guests.
Yeah.
That was long for our podcast feed.
Yeah, but Sword of the Valiant. We're doing it. You asked for it.
Absolutely. No one asked for it. I asked for it.
Yeah. A return to those fantasy sword and sorcery epics that I'm so fond of.
Well, more so than you might think, because not only is this Connery, it's Connery versus Ator.
Yeah, the very first himself. Very good, Kaz, the original Ator.
Yes, of course, as is the usual for us, he did not play Ator in the only Ator movie that we've reviewed, but he was Ator 1 through 3.
I showed you clips of that first one, right? Where he wants to marry his sister. And then he finds out that they're adopted, and some guy came out of the woods with you, son.
They should have kept it going. They should have, I don't know, doubled down on the incest. That's what I say.
Why can't we marry?
Ator, we are brother and sister.
I'll talk with our father.
Sword of the Valiant, The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I am going to say the entire title every single time.
I'm going to go with Sword of the Valiant.
An absolutely incredible poster. Like, when I was looking through the list of Sean Connery movies we could do, this one stood out to me because it really is the most amazing 80s arcade game that you've never played before.
Yep.
Like, the only thing missing from this poster is a little thing in the corner that says, winners don't use drugs.
Sure, yeah.
Like, it's incredible. Like, it really looks amazing. And
they're all pretty, like, stern-faced on that. Just thrilled to be in this movie.
Absolutely, yeah. But, before we get into that, rather than writing down, like, the career and filmography of Sean Connery, which I haven't done, both because it's incredibly long and because you have asked me to stop doing that. I figured, this being the first episode here, we're both pretty big fans of the James Bond franchise.
Sure, yeah.
Why don't we just talk about our personal history with Ian Fleming's creation here? Like, when did you start getting into the series?
Well, the James Bond series was actually a huge blind spot in my cinephile page book there. So my exposure to Bond started with GoldenEye, and then it kind of just carried. And then I sort of interest waned for it until Casino Royale came out.
Now, did it start with GoldenEye the movie or
GoldenEye the
N60?
game?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's because we are of a generation.
Absolutely.
That definitely probably was the catalyst for me. But then shortly after that, I started getting into the movies.
Yeah,
almost immediately.
Well, as luck would have it, I just saw the entire James Bond library is available on Amazon Prime. I should go and watch them in chronological order, or release date order. And
that means the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah. And yeah, I picked a different Bond movie a night, so I had a lot of Bond overexposure in the course of like a month or so. Yeah, so it's somewhat relatively fresh to my mind. And yet there are times in those early Sean Connery ones where I found myself skipping ahead a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I putting myself into the mindset of the 1960s. I could see, oh yes, these movies were a huge fucking deal. The first action movie blockbusters that provided the kind of escapism that regular 9-to-5 clock punchers could see themselves going on these fabulous adventures.
Yeah, it definitely set a precedent for action movies. It definitely set a precedent for British cinema. I mean, like that series really did help legitimize that as something that could go toe to toe within the Hollywood system.
Against like the biggest westerns and war movies of the era.
I haven't done enough looking into like the history of the books. I definitely feel like they had their popularity, but obviously like the movies were the thing that sort of like propelled the books into even more fame.
No, it was a good call on the Broccoli family to just be like, yes, there is a potential money-making juggernaut here, just based on little dime store novels. Yeah.
I don't want to get into the habit of correcting you, but it is in fact pronounced broccoli.
Is it broccoli?
Yes.
Oh no!
And I'm pretty sure it is because they are descendants from the person who crossbred
discovered broccoli.
Well, he didn't discover broccoli. He made broccoli in a lab, in a vegetable science lab. He took cauliflower and he did some shit to it, and he went,
yeah.
But does it taste good? No, children will hate it.
Yeah.
And then his assistant, Jeremiah Cheese Sauce.
Okay, all right.
Here, yes. But yeah, Sean Connery was the original James Bond. Starred in the original James Bond film, 1962's Dr. No, which is still incredibly watchable. Aside from certain look, there's a lot of aspects from James Bond that haven't aged terribly well. More so the books than the movies. Some of the books are startlingly racist today, but the movies don't have as much of that. You do sort of have to look past the fact that Dr. No himself is a white actor in yellowface. You
have to look past the fact that Sean Connery put on yellowface
for the fifth movie. There's that fifth movie's a tough set. But yeah, I mean, the thing with Connery is compared to the other Bonds is that he's a little more of a brute.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Craig, when Craig started his tenure, people were like, this is a return to form, like James Bond should be.
Less suave, more dangerous.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, we'll get to, but obviously there are people who the debate rages on who's the better Bond, Connery or Moore, and it's just like they're two completely different tastes.
Sure, yeah.
Moore is the suave, one-liner, womanizer.
But like, what were you saying for Craig? Like, he's going back to just be like the bruiser.
He's a brawler. He's stone cold. I mean, like, there's the classic scene in Dr. No, the first movie, where the assassin sneaks up on him and he has no bullets in his gun, and Bond just coldly goes like, "You've had your shicks," and then he just ices him. He's a secret agent. He don't fuck around.
Yeah, and it's a very kind of stripped down compared to what Bond eventually became. Whereas like, okay, well, what are his gadgets? Well, he's got like a little bit of piano wire in his watch or something like that, or he's got a poison dart in his pen, but for the most part, it's his fists and his gun. And yeah, the mission it's just a job to Sean Connery. That's the big vibe that I got for him, where like, yes, the mission is paramount to what he's doing.
The mission is, there's a doctor, his name is No, he's on an island somewhere, go check that shit out.
Yeah.
That's basically
And if you have to sleep with a woman, so be it.
My God, Her Majesty salutes you, James Bond.
It's all part of the day's work.
But yeah, I mean, this first movie is incredibly stripped down. It doesn't have a lot of the trademarks that would become synonymous with the James Bond franchise.
He doesn't even get a car in that one, right?
I believe he definitely gets a car, but it's one of the few James Bond movies not to have a theme song.
Right.
It just has kind of like a jazzy little calypso number to go with the island setting. But it's the second movie that kind of like really starts solidifying some of the things that we associate with the franchise.
That's From Russia with Love?
That is 1963's From Russia with Love.
Yep.
That introduces villains Rosa Klebb, who's got the knife in her shoe, and Red Grant, played by the awesome Robert Shaw. Of course, also James Bond gets a jetpack in that one.
Yeah.
So that's a great one. I believe that's also the first In Shadows introduction of longtime nemesis Blofeld.
Right.
Who is only seen, I think, as like an arm stroking a cat.
Yeah.
Maybe in that one.
Spectre was heavily hinted at in
Yes.
Dr. No, if I recall, because Dr. No was Spectre's head scientist or something, or like a defected head scientist or something. But yeah, Spectre loomed large in that second one.
Because the thing with the James Bond franchise, up to, I will say, the Craig movies definitely had more connectivity than the other films did. Was this why there's always been like this theory that James Bond isn't just like one person, it's a code name, and that's why he's played by a different actor in movies and such, because they don't there's not like a ton of connectivity. And certainly in the 60s we didn't have movies the way we do now with like the MCU and connected universes and stuff. But you do start to see in this Connery run them sort of like seeding elements that will come back in other films. The inclusion of Blofeld, who's just like a sinister guy with a bald head in a chair in one movie, and then 5 movies later he finally gets an actor attributed to him. We finally get to learn a little bit more of him, and then he sticks around for a couple of movies.
Yeah, but the Bond movies were part of like that serialized storytelling where there are going to be themes and staples that we're going to see. Like we're going to see M, we're going to see Moneypenny, like bookending
other
the
characters keep coming back. Felix Leiter, Q.
Bond will always have to toss his hat on the coat rack, and they have to
I don't know if Ian Fleming wrote that.
Yeah.
Bond entered the room. Moneypenny smiled at him, and he threw his hat onto the coat rack, and the hat landed neatly. That's that's in every book. That's in every book. That's the preface.
A two-way door that leads to M's office. I kept looking for that in every subsequent movie.
But yeah, so Connery did 4 Bond movies in 4 years. It was a pretty incredible run.
Yeah.
Dr. No, From Russia with Love, 1964, probably his best known and one of the top Bond movies, period. Of course, Goldfinger. That of the absolutely classic Shirley Bassey theme song. One of the best overall. Of course, that has some of the most iconic imagery of him being chained to the table with the laser.
I expect you to die.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Just a great
Goldfinger getting sucked out of the airplane window. Yeah.
Of course, Pussy Galore, need to say more.
Absolutely.
Odd Job with the friggin' hats. I mean, like, there's just so much iconography from that one movie.
Yeah, that's when the franchise really got gunning, I think. Yeah. It was a third movie in, like, at that point, just like a series. Yeah, this is what's going to turn some heads. This is what guarantees it as a blockbuster. Probably somewhat smart that it's set in the U.S., so it would have like more North American appeal to.
Yeah, that's definitely when they realize, there's a market for this, and we can definitely appeal to that market. Which is something that they've toyed with back and forth for a while still remaining inherently British.
Yeah, but I also think like a large part of the appeal is that, like, in an era where international travel wasn't a realistic or feasible option for most people, like you couldn't have an overnight flight on just like a regular salary, these Bond movies were your chance to get to these exotic locations.
Yeah, jet-setting locations.
To get into like the high roller clubs.
Sure, because he always goes to like 2 or 3 different countries.
And there are all these like majestic beauty shots and everything everywhere you go. Yeah.
The other thing that I like about Goldfinger that I think stands out from some of the other movies is that when he's fighting Spectre or some other like insane billionaire whose goal is to like blow up the world or like create like a new race of supermen or like what have you. Or
kickstart a war so he could like benefit through arms deals or what have you.
Goldfinger just wants to steal a bunch of gold.
Yep.
He's just a thief. And he wants to do it in the most dickish way possible where he radiates a ton of gold bars so no one else can have them except him. And it's
That's
great.
a Bond villain
That's
plot.
it.
That's a Bond
That's
villain.
all he wants.
Yeah.
And and then Bond gets involved in it somehow. And it's just like, and it's like, I hate to say it, but it's such like a prescient scope of writing a villain, because there is so much Donald Trump in already Goldfinger. So it's like, reality finds a way to copy our film and television at a certain point. But on the one hand, we have Goldfinger, which has like more iconography from the James Bond franchise than most of the other movies combined. And then the very next film, I would argue, is one of the most forgettable of the entire series, and definitely the most forgettable of the Connery run, which would be Thunderball.
I think the main appeal for that movie is just the big underwater fight. That must have been...
Most of it is underwater.
Yeah, which must have been a bitch to fucking film.
Yeah. Well, it's a bitch to film, and I would argue kind of uninteresting to watch, because it is 1964, so it's just like a lot of people moving very slowly.
Sure, but I mean, being in 2025 now, like, yeah, that kind of looks... It's not terribly exciting. I'm sure back in the day, the people in the theater would have been like, how the fuck did they pull this shit off?
Oh my god, James, there's a shark!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I'm going to slowly tread through the water to get away from it.
But then, after Thunderball, he takes 1 year off and comes back in 1967 with You Only Live Twice, which, again, has a lot of very unfortunate Asian yellow-facing. Bond himself has to go undercover as an Asian man.
But hey, I mean, it's got my favorite villain lair.
Absolutely.
Well, one of my of the Connery movie, it's my favorite villain lair.
Like
that volcano lair. How can you deny it?
I mean, this is where Mike Myers took his direct representation for Dr. Evil and everything, because we first get our first look at Blofeld, played originally by the great Donald Pleasance. And he's got like his volcano lair inside with I think like a piranha pool. I think he like pushes someone into a piranha pool at one point in time.
Isn't that the one where he has like the trapdoor underneath the boardroom chairs? Yeah.
Now I think you are thinking of Austin Powers.
Okay.
But he definitely has a trapdoor on like a bridge that someone falls into.
Sure.
A weird bit of trivia for You Only Live Twice. Screenplay written by Roald Dahl.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Huh.
It was the only time he did that. He never wrote for any of the other James Bond movies.
I didn't even know he was a screenwriter.
I think he helped adapt some of his own stories in the past. I think maybe he might have worked on the Willy Wonka movie, but an odd screenwriter for hire job for Roald Dahl on that movie. Yeah, the only one that he did. And then, of course, Connery hung up his tuxedo, and he said, like 5 movies is enough for me. I'm not coming. I'm not coming back. Give the job to someone else, maybe an Australian car salesman. That's good for me. And then that was it. And then he never made another James Bond movie, except he did
that weird offshoot one.
Oh no, you're forgetting. So Sean Connery's 10 years. James Bond was 5 movies. Lazenby comes in for one.
And then he came back.
And then Connery said, you know what? Actually, maybe there is still one more in me. And that would be 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. Not a great one, unfortunately.
Of kind of a weak note to go out on.
Yes, it was somewhat. I'm trying to think of what the deal of in that one is. Blofeld is back. This time he's played by Charles Gray from Rocky Horror Picture Show. So he's grown hair. He's gotten himself a hair transplant. 2 movies of being bald, and now all of a sudden Blofeld has hair again.
Was that the one that was set in Vegas?
I believe part of it is set in Vegas.
Is that the one that has Crispin Glover's dad as a henchman?
Yes, Mr. Kint and Mr. Wynn, 2 henchmen who are always holding hands and are just really good friends.
Yeah.
Yes, Crispin Glover's dad is in
that's
that.
That's the most I fucking remember about that one.
I think I remember at one point in time he goes to like a fake moon set. Maybe some sort of like subtle dig at the moon landing being faked, but I remember he like drives around in a golf cart. Again,
Right.
really kind of running on fumes here.
Sure, yeah.
But then after that one, Connery's all like, all right, this time
For real.
sure, for reals, you guys, I'm not coming back. I'm not doing a proper licensed Eon
Great
James
impression by
Bond
the- yeah.
movie ever again. And he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Until 1983, the same year as the official James Bond movie Octopussy comes out. Sean Connery goes ahead and does an unofficial James Bond movie, not from the producers, not from the Broccoli family or anything like that.
It's so fucking weird that he came back for something like that, and it's so diametrically different from what we've already established as staples of James Bond to do that one. Going to that one after going, like, what was that, like the 9th? I know it's not the one in the series, but like technically would that be like the...
Hold on, I can probably do the math in my head.
We're gonna...
It's like the 13th.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like the 13th one. Yeah.
So yeah, to see it not have an opening musical number, to not have...
It does have a musical number over the end credit. Of course, the movie we're talking about is Never Say Never Again, from the director of The Empire Strikes Back, if you can believe it. But like it does, I mean, like it doesn't have like the official like James Bond gun barrel thing or whatever. It does have an opening theme song,
but it's not a stylized music video.
It's not like an opening credit sequence. It just
it's like the opening to fucking Magnum PI or something,
exactly.
right?
The credits roll and it's just James Bond in a pool romancing a lady, and then the song is playing, and you're all like, this all feels very weird. The other weird thing about it is that Never Say Never Again is literally just Thunderball again. It's the exact same plot, the exact same characters. They've just kind of they got more recognizable faces for the American cast. Max von Sydow is Blofeld in this one. Kim Basinger is the Bond girl in that one.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same plot of a movie that Connery had already starred in. So yeah, that's an odd fucking choice to do. It would have made more sense if it was like a remake of I don't know, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the one Bond movie that he didn't do.
Yeah.
But no, I guess there must have just been some rights issues where that Ian Fleming novel was up for grabs. So they said, we'll just do that one again.
Or it was the original story under its original title.
No, it was originally called Thunderball.
It was originally called Thunderball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Never Say Never Again. The title of that comes from the fact that after Diamonds Are Forever, the press asked Connery if he would ever play James Bond again, and he said, never! I'll never do it! And then when he signed up for this, his wife at the time apparently said, never say never again. And then he got on the phone and said, like, I've got a title for your movie!
Similar to when Eagles broke up and they said, were you ever going to get back together? And they said, yeah, when Hell Freezes Over. And then when they had a reunion tour, it was called the Hell Freezes Over Tour.
That's what you
That's
gotta
a little
do.
classic rock trivia there.
Yeah, tie it in there. Yeah, absolutely. And then that's Connery's tenure. So it's broken up between like the two other actors we're going to be covering were doing their own Bond movies, while Connery is interspersed doing like his weird sort of patchwork.
He's just there to close the door after we're done.
He is the first actor to play James Bond, also the third and fifth, if you want to count it that way. So yeah, but I mean, like, the thing about Connery is that he'd been around for decades, you know, like he got his career in like started in like the late 50s with like a Hitchcock movie and like weird live action Disney shit.
Oh,
like
the Darby
O'Gill and the Little People.
I tried watching that one.
No thanks, Uncle Walt.
Pretty ridiculous on that.
But
front.
like the thing is that he was still such a cinema icon for when we were growing up.
Oh sure,
I mean, I feel like the seminal movie for him of our generation is still The Rock. It's amazing to think that Sean Connery owes so much of his late period career to Michael Bay for keeping him relevant.
Yeah.
But I mean, like...
my first introduction to Sean Connery was The Last Crusade.
The Last Crusade, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, kind of my favorite of the Indiana Jones film. And of course, Indiana Jones kind of as a concept owes a lot of the same DNA to James Bond as well too, which is entirely why
it's a tip of the hat to
yeah, absolutely it's a tip of the
it's a toss of the hat to the coat rack.
It's a crack of the whip. But and of course, a few years previous to that, he is still to date the only actor who has played James Bond to be nominated, let alone win an Academy Award. It's only happened one time. Craig has come close a couple of times, but he's never quite managed it. But of course, Connery got that legacy Oscar for The Untouchables, which is, a terrifically fun movie that he's very good in. Is it like the best performance of his career? No, not really. But it really was a case of them saying it's all like, we're giving this to you because you're Sean Connery, because you've been around
you're an icon
this long. Yeah. But it's like, we're listing all of these movies.
We're sure as hell not going to give it to fucking Dragonheart.
Well, they don't.
Dragon.
I am the last one.
I am a dragon.
Yes, we're certainly not going to give it to you for the time you asked America's audiences, who was the man now, dog?
I was gonna. That's such an odd legacy. Like, hey,
it is. It's very strange.
Hey, probably one of the very first internet memes. Come to think, because it spawned YourTheManNow.com.
YourTheManNow.com. Pop quiz, Jameson. Name the movie that's from.
Finding Forrester.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
A movie that genuinely most people have never sat down and actually watched, but everyone knows it as You're the Man.
You're the Man Now, dog. And then you can still go to ytmnd.com right now.
Just the stupidest shit. But yeah, I feel like our movie watching 90s was full of those type of movies and collecting the Connery quotes, the losers whine about their best, winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
That's right, yeah.
And then fucking, I am the last dragon, and you're the man now, dog.
That's right.
And I don't know, I'm
shaken, not stirred.
Exactly.
You mean 90s specific ones? Yeah.
I'm entrapped. This is entrapment.
I'm the villain of the Avengers. I can control the weather. I remember that from the trailer.
Actually, I do remember from the trailer. He goes, "The game is on." So yeah, see, he's just endlessly quotable, Mr. Sean Connery. And of course, the rumor persists that twice he was offered iconic movie roles that he turned down. He was offered...
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, he was offered Morpheus in The Matrix and Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings.
I believe because he turned down Gandalf, because he didn't understand, like, the fantasy element of it, which is ironic considering he's in this fucking movie. But he was like, I
did that once before.
I'm never doing one of these, fantasy films again. And then he saw it just, like, annihilate box office records. And he's like, okay, well, the next one that crosses my desk, I'm going to do. And that was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Which ended up being the last movie he ever starred in, because he hated the experience of doing that so much. Both him and the director of that movie retired from film. And they held to it. I mean, like, the director's still alive, so he could always come back.
I mean, he did that for a paycheck, and I think after that one bombed, I think he just saw... So this is what filmmaking has become now. It's such a crapshoot on what's going to be a hit or not. I couldn't tell from the script that Lord of the Rings was going to be good. I couldn't tell from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen that it was going to be bad. So, yeah, I think he was just done with it. And then at that point, he worked for, like 4 decades?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And he earned the right to just sit in his... I assume he lived in a castle because he's Scottish, but just sit in his castle and play golf all day. And every once in a while, you hear about stories about people reaching out to Connery saying, like, "Will you come out of retirement for this movie?"
Go fuck yourself, Trebek.
And he always said, I mean, then that's the other legacy. Is the
that's not his legacy.
The fucking Celebrity Jeopardy thing. But it weirdly is. Like, it's like when you think of Sean Connery, you do sort of like associate that Daryl Hammond horse semen like your mother, Trebek.
Anal bomb cover. Tried to invent one for years.
But yeah, I remember hearing people. I mean, jumping all ahead to the end. You think about the movie Skyfall, and there's that groundskeeper character played by Albert Finney in that
100% meant to be Sean Connery.
100% meant to be Sean Connery. I don't know if they ever approved that they offered it to him, but it's just like you watch that, it's like that's clearly what they intended when they wrote it. No shade to Albert Finney, he was fine, but it's just like
You're giving a guy like that a
you can
Scottish
tell.
accent who's
you
like,
can absolutely tell that that's what they meant to do.
caretaker of the Bond estate or whatever. That is 100% Connery
Yeah.
written all over it.
I guess, but you know what? Ultimately, I'm kind of glad that he didn't do it because he went out on his own terms. It probably would have been a little. It would have been a little distracting. Take away from the ending of that very good movie.
It would lend 100% more credence to the theory that James Bond is just a code name.
Yeah, I feel like the Craig movies have a lot to answer for in the sense that
we'll get to
they really
that.
fucked that up.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, let's put a cap on that and take a little break. And when we come back, we'll be in medieval times. Get your big turkey legs, everyone, and your goblets of high sea.
At this point, I kind of wish we had hey Eddie, can you write us an old medieval sounding kind of version of our theme? Wow, Eddie Lamb.
Eddie Lamb, he's here in the studio.
Does not sound like that.
How's it going? I'm very sick.
Well, thanks.
I'm very sick right now.
Well, thanks for joining us.
My voice sounds like. Can I be on the episode?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll just play my music now. Doop 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 doop. Eddie Lamb, everybody.
Larry, later.
He has to go.
Sean Connery throws down the gauntlet of challenge. That's what played at the start of the trailer.
That's true. That's right.
Sean Connery throws down the gauntlet of challenge.
Yeah.
I heard that and I was like, oh, fuck.
This is another good case where the trailer is infinitely better than the actual movie.
Yeah.
Because I showed you some we're back, by the way.
Yeah, hello again.
I showed you some options of possible Connery movies we could find, but then I found the trailer for this, and you and I were both all like, done.
This is the one.
Done. This is the one. And it didn't live up to the trailer.
No.
Unfortunately, it really didn't.
Didn't live up to the legend.
No. Of
Sir Gawain.
Of and the Green Knight.
And the Green Knight.
Sword of the Valiant, The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, is directed by Stephen Weeks. Now, his first movie is 1971's the fantastically titled I, Monster!
Oh, as in I, comma, monster, or eyeball monster?
I, comma, monster.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
I, Monster is a Power Rangers villain. Yep. I Guy. I remember that. I had an
Tell me about this director, Kaz.
Okay, so I Monster, I Comma Monster. I Monster stars the always terrific duo of Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. And despite the title is literally just an adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, except that the names have been changed to Dr. Marlowe and Mr. Blake.
Oh.
Now, like myself, I'm sure you're probably asking, why did they do that? Did they do that to avoid legal reasons or whatever? Which immediately falls apart when you realize Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde went into the public domain in 1944. So why change the names of the characters in this movie?
So they could take creative liberties with the story? That'd be my guess.
Yeah, but you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay. You can do whatever you
Maybe
want.
Maybe they didn't know that. I don't know, Kaz.
That's the thing with public domain is you can take. That's why there's all these fucking Popeye horror movies now, because it's all you can you can have Popeye in your movie and have him be a sailor man and just have him spend the entire movie drinking Ripple and masturbating in a corner, and no one could touch you. No one could get litigious. But I guess
Ripple.
maybe
That's the weird takeaway I'm getting from that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, of course, because he has the one big arm.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know why they changed the names, but hey, Lee and Cushing and Jekyll and Hyde movie, that's probably worth a watch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
sure that's great, actually.
Now, he also directed a 1974 British television movie called Ghost Story, starring the British singer Marianne Faithfull. The only reason that I am even bringing this up is because when you go to Stephen Weeks' IMDb page, when you see the thing where the profile picture should be, rather than a photo of the man whose IMDb page it is, there is just a poster for Ghost Story. Actually, it's not even the poster. It is the British DVD cover art. So either he was really proud of this one, or someone fucked up.
Or no one ever took a picture of this guy.
He never existed. He is a Terrence Malikian figure who doesn't like being photographed.
Hey, there have been a couple of examples, I can't name them right now, where I couldn't find existing pictures of the directors we talk about.
Sure.
And then I just use stock image of like a cartoon director.
Generally, when you don't have a he just has a big megaphone.
Yeah.
Getty Images.
Yep. You got it. Nothing but quality here at Nothing Movies.
Generally, when you can't find a photo of someone for IMDb, you just don't have a photo. You don't usually have like a photo of a movie that he directed, so that's a little odd. Maybe someone on the IMDb boards can look into that. But it's not the weirdest thing about this director. Probably the most interesting thing I found out about this guy is that Sword of the Valiant, The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, is not even the first movie that he has directed about Gawain and the Green Knight. That would be 1973's Gawain and the Green Knight, which is available on YouTube. And after I watched Sword of the Valiant, I jumped ahead and watched a handful of scenes from that earlier version. I watched the entire ending, and then I scrubbed back and I watched like a couple of scenes out of order. It is, for the most part, the exact same movie.
Oh no!
The dialogue is almost exactly the same in the climax of the film. He just remade the same movie again. Because the thing that we haven't mentioned is that Sword of the Valiant is a Canon film.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was like, fuck yeah. So what happened there? Did Canon ask him to remake?
I guess.
Did they give him a higher budget? I don't think.
That is the weird thing about it, is really the only difference between these two movies is that Sword of the Valiant has a much bigger budget behind it, which is probably the first time you will ever be able to say that about a Canon Films movie. One of the cheapest production companies ever to exist. But yeah, compared to this 1970s British independent film, the Golden Globus had more money behind them. So I guess they were just kind of playing, I guess medieval shit was hot at the time in 1984. I can't think.
When did fucking Excalibur come out?
Maybe a few years before that, but Excalibur wasn't that big of a hit.
No.
But yeah, so I guess they were just all like, "There's a market for this. It's like, what if we did like a Green Knight movie?"
Yeah.
And then someone did like the basest amount of research. Is all like, someone made a Green Knight movie not too long ago, and then either Golden or Globus went like, literally just hire that guy.
Us too.
Just hire that guy.
The nation's got Green Knight fever.
Absolutely.
Now, it's funny that you say that he essentially remade his earlier movie, because the story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight has a good chunk of it that is left somewhat intentionally vague, and that's what allows it to have putting your own creative spin on it.
Yeah.
Like, are you familiar at all with the story?
Only in the sense that I read the synopsis on Wikipedia. I saw that it is technically called a poem.
Right.
It is an Arthurian legend attributed to no one, because that's how fucking old it is. No one know who wrote this thing.
Right.
Merlin, one assumes.
I got a big textbook here somewhere of old Arthurian legends. But the general gist is, it starts the same way. Green Knight shows up to King Arthur's court, challenges any one of his knights to attack him anywhere in his body if he can return the blow in a year's time. Gawain volunteers and beheads the guy, and he says, okay, well, I'll see you in a year to return that blow. And then the story is kind of left a little bit open-ended for a while as Gawain goes through this year-long adventure.
And that's where you make your movie.
That's where you make your movie. Yeah. And then it ends the same way, where he encounters the Green Knight, and the Green Knight kind of spares him or something.
It is a very strange sort of like setup for a story. Now, I get like this was, it's the dawn of storytelling or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, like if I may pull out like my red pen for this Arthurian legend.
I have some notes.
I do have some notes where like the Green Knight shows up and is all like, you're all bored on New Year's Eve. I have a fantastic game. Someone try to chop my head off.
Yeah. Well, see, That's something that this movie does that doesn't happen in the story. There's no, I don't really know that there's anything supernatural with him. So he says, attack me anywhere in my body, and then I get to attack you in the same spot. So when Gawain goes to chop his head off, he says, like, okay, well, that takes care of that punk. And then it's like, oh shit, this guy just picked up his head and said, all right, cool, see you in a year. So, that's what puts, like, the fear
That's the general sort of idea is this guy shows up and says, like, this will be a fun game. You attack me with my axe, and then afterwards I'll attack you with my axe, and then Gawain is all like, well, this guy's an idiot, I'm gonna cut his head off.
Yeah.
They don't expect him to be a ghoul,
something of that,
some sort of the mythical creature
and
or whatever.
And the point of the entire story is that it's about honoring your promises and your commitments, and showing chivalry that way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the point of the myth.
But the synopsis that I read, it's interesting what this adaptation kept in, and it's not surprising what they left out. There is, according to the Wikipedia synopsis, a big chunk of the story where Gawain has to fend is taken in by like a lord and like his horny wife. And
I think that's one of the few like things that overlaps in all interpretations.
Yeah. And then the lord is all like, I'm going out fox hunting, and whatever I bring, you give me.
Don't take advantage of my hospitality.
Henceforth, or whatever. And then
don't sleep with my wife
and
now.
And then his wife comes in, is all like, I want that dick. And then Gawain's all like, no. I can only offer a chaste kiss. And then they have like a little kiss. And then when the Lord comes back with a fox, Gawain has to kiss the Lord on the lips.
Right.
Which, great for me. But like, I can understand how that doesn't translate into most of the stories. And apparently that happens like 3 or 4 times.
And then what you're kind of left with then is, okay, well, how do we fill out time between the bookend scenes, between the first and last act? And it's
medieval shit.
Medieval meandering shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of meandering. It's a lot of Canterbury Tales.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the more recent Green Knight movie that
I
came
have.
out in 2019? Yep. What were your thoughts on that?
It's all right.
Yeah. It was an absolutely beautiful movie.
Yeah, that's what's
that bored me to tears at times. It really does take it really took its time when it really did not need to. There were like long fucking tracking shots where like Dev Patel is like lying on the ground injured, and the camera goes all the way around the forest and back to him, and it's like nothing else happens, and I'm all like, okay, I get it. You're trying to commit. You're trying to build atmosphere and tension or whatever. But like, let's move on here.
Speaking of moving on, we're not here to talk about that Green Knight movie. We're here to talk about this Green Knight movie.
Sure.
What did you want to say?
The only thing that I wanted to say is what's interesting about that film, David Lowery's 2019 film, The Green Knight, is that his interpretation. It does something really interesting with Gawain. It sort of takes away Gawain's heroism, and he's a much more pathetic character in that movie. And it seems like the themes of that are, like man's inherent drive to try and cheat our predetermined fate. Like as soon as we're born, we try our hardest not to die.
Yeah.
That's like every time we wake up and we leave the house, like our goal is like, I will not die today. And that movie is kind of like hammering home the thing is like, it's stupid and pointless to try and like avoid your fate, because eventually the Green Knight's going to catch up with you and he's going to chop your head off, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And like, that movie really goes out of its way to make Gawain kind of a loser, and I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it a little bit. But this movie isn't doing anything.
No, it's not doing the legend
as introspective as that. This is a very meat and potatoes type adaptation.
Yeah.
I just want to get your word on this before we break into the synopsis here. I feel like you agree with me on this point. I feel like our generation has just been so conditioned specifically by Monty Python and the Holy Grail, so that when you watch a movie like this, you can't fucking take any aspect of it seriously. And this movie really wants you to take it seriously, but it's kind of impossible.
There are moments where there's someone at the top of a guard gate who's yelling down at someone outside the drawbridge, and just hearing British people yelling at people over a great distance calls to mind Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You can't get away from it.
Stand proud! For the day you have joined the army
a lot of the ADR in this movie is really laughable because it is just like actors in big, clangy suits of armor. So obviously they can't have like a boom mic on set because all you'd hear is clunk, 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 clunk the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like people in like a recording booth, like running up castle stairs, going like, "Oh, he's over there! Oh, we'll be right there! Oh, get on, my liege! Oh!" And
Right,
it's just like, yeah, it's very Python-esque in a movie that I don't think is trying to be funny.
No.
At all. It would have helped.
It absolutely.
It would have helped
Given
if
some,
it leaned into the cheesiness a little bit more.
All right, so the film opens in a kingdom, not necessarily Camelot, where a king, not necessarily King Arthur.
Again, this is the weird thing. He changes the names of Jekyll and Hyde when he doesn't have to. And in this, like, we know this is supposed to be King Arthur. We know who Sir Gawain is.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no Arthur, there's no Round Table, there's no Lancelot or anything. It's just the king.
It's just the king, yes. And I don't know enough about like the story. Like like these other knights of like the table, not even the round table.
Yeah.
It's like a couple of rectangle tables.
Yeah.
Are these meant to be Lancelot and Bedivere, whatever?
Who knows?
Who knows? And they've gotten like old and fat.
And yeah,
with time
they're all
and
wearing
stuff.
their fake beards and
Yeah,
everything. The idea is that the kingdom has gone soft during this peacetime. He starts chewing everybody out at the banquet, turning all the rabbit stuffed boar and the taxidermied swan away from everybody.
All of his food has crowns on it, which is very important.
I gotta imagine that, like, he gathers this big room together and they're all expecting this big feast, and then he's like, "Nah, take it all away," and then he starts yelling at everybody. If I was just there, I'd be like, "So are we not having a meal or something? Can we leave?"
There's like a couple of knights who are like already mowing into the, like I said, the big turkey legs.
Yeah.
And he comes over and he starts like throwing grapes at them or whatever. There's definitely like a couple of like serving wenches in the background. They're all like, Arthur's on his bullshit again.
yeah.
We gotta deal with this.
He just ruins his own banquet there.
There's like one of the knights is all like, "See, this is why I eat before I came."
Yeah.
People are always like, "You never eat enough at these banquets." It's all like, this is why.
So as he's chewing everybody out, saying, "None of you have come back with any good adventures or any good stories to tell at our, weekly banquets or whatever," the Green Knight bursts in through the castle gates.
Well, we do see two guards on the tower or whatever going like, "Oh, what's that in the distance?" And
What's
there's
that
like,
glowing green effect?
Exactly, and someone just has like a flashlight with like a green gel over it. We have incidentally seen the actor who plays the king, not King Arthur, before. This is Trevor Howard, who we previously saw in 11 Harrow House. He was sort of the Mr. Burns type character. Who makes Charles Grodin steal the diamonds and then stabs him.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple of big names in this.
Sure.
They are weirdly. I just want
one in particular we'll get to.
I mean, Sean Connery, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very funny. Like the billing for this movie is very strange because it's. Above the title is Miles O'Keefe, who at this time is only known for the Ator movies.
Right.
And then the French actress who plays Lady Lynette, and then another British guy I've never heard of before who plays Humphrey, his manservant. Those are your three names above the title. Here are the names below the title: Sean Connery, Trevor Howard, Peter Cushing, John Rhys-Davies. There's two actors in this from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they didn't put their names on the fucking poster. It's very weird. You would think because Golden Globus are all about see our movie.
We have star power. We have real celebrities.
But they didn't put any of the names on the poster. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Gawain is the main draw here. We got Gawain and the Green Knight.
Yeah.
Audiences won't be able to stay away, so yes, the Green Knight does show up.
All right, cool. So Sean Connery shows up and he's wearing his emerald green, ivy-looking armor, complete with like green elk antlers, his leafy cape. It's a pretty sick getup he's got here. Except his chest is weirdly exposed.
You have to imagine like at one point in time it's all like, all right, Sean, here's like your costume for the Green Knight, and he had like a chest plate. He's all like, just one edit, and he just like removes it, so then it starts fanning out his chest hair. It's all like, I've got to breathe. I've got to let the boys breathe,
Yeah. I mean, I guess if he's a fucking immortal, like it doesn't matter if his chest's exposed or not. But it'd be a sick looking getup if they just filled in that gap. It's like fucking Power Girl's boob window.
It is.
Yeah.
He absolutely has a tit window.
Yeah.
And you know, as you say, like he's like a mythical, seemingly immortal being. So it's like, why bother having that one patch of exposed skin? It does come back to bite him eventually.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah, and I just kind of appreciated how, like, he's always kind of underlit with a green gel, like a green light.
Yeah.
What I did not appreciate was that he was glittery. They sprinkled like a bunch of glitter on him that you just know months after this film wrapped, he's like showering, he still sees glitter in the fucking bathtub.
Well, he apparently filmed this on his off days while he was filming Never Say Never Again. This filmed at like the same time. He apparently, according to John Rhys-Davies, he spent like 5 days on this movie, and then that was it for Connery.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have like a terribly big part. He's
in 3 scenes.
He's there at the beginning, and then he's there at the end, and then they found a way to do some insert shit with him in the middle of it, because it's like, yeah, we got Connery, so we got to get it in there.
But yeah, so he issues his challenge where he specifically says, if you can like strike me in the neck or behead me. And at this point, like, no one wants to do it because they just say, who's this fucking crazy guy? Gawain volunteers for it as he's not even like a knight. He's like a squire or something in this.
In the poem, in the original poem, he is a knight and he is Arthur's nephew.
Right.
But
in this, he's just a dude.
He is just a squire.
Right.
And it's like, this adds to like the insult of Camelot, or I'm sorry, the kingdom.
Yeah.
Wherever we are, where it's like, none of these knights will step up and
behead this guy.
Accept this challenge, this stranger's weird challenge. We have to get like a squire boy with the most amazing feathered hairdo I've ever seen. I mean, fucking Sword of the Valiant, fucking Prince Valiant haircut here. That's what I'm talking about.
That's quite good.
So it's the world's easiest christening that we've ever seen, where our not Arthur is just all like, and you're a knight now. There you go. Now you can go chop this guy's head off.
Yeah. He uses the axe. He beheads him in. Oh, a shot that could have been done better. It was a very lame camera transition where it followed the axe and then it just cut to an animatronic head of Sean Connery.
Pretty great. Not gonna lie.
It's a pretty dumb
Pretty
puppet.
great. But
it talks like fucking Billy Big Mouth Bass or whatever.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, though, scrubbing back between that and the earlier 70s British version, they did improve.
Oh, okay.
They did improve. They improved basically everything from the old version on this.
So the Green Knight picks up his head and says, like, well, now I'll return the blow, but I see that you're just a young man who has narrowly had a life to live. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 1 year, and then you can come and accept your fate. And in that time, I will give you 4 riddles to contemplate on, and if you solve these riddles, I will spare your life. And they're supposed to be like life lesson kind of riddles. Like, it's not like, what's the sound of one hand clapping, or, 4 wheels and flies.
For the record, the 4 riddles are: where life is emptiness, gladness; where life is darkness, fire; where life is golden, sorrow; and where life is lost, wisdom. And apparently Gawain goes on like this year-long journey to try and figure it out. I could have told him it's basically just all like, life's not fair.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically just like all 4. That's what
you take the good, you take the bad, and you get the facts of life.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. Connery keeps framing the shit that he's doing. He keeps framing it all as a game.
Yes.
You have to play the Green Knight's game. And like, they keep hammering this point home over and over again. And I keep asking myself at different points throughout the movie,
what are the rules?
What are the rules? What game are we playing? You showed up in the court, said, someone cut my head off. Someone did that. And then you picked up your head and you said, okay, you have a year to enjoy life, and then at the end of that year, I'm going to cut your head off. Dude, follow the rules. And then he left, and I'm all like, what? This isn't a game.
Yeah.
There's no structure to it. There's no...
Yeah.
And he keeps interrupting Gawain throughout the movie, just being all like, oh, you're not following the rules. I'm
What
like,
fucking rules?
Motherfucker, what are we doing?
Yeah, there are many times in this movie where Gawain does a misstep or he makes like a wrong turn, and someone just goes up to him and says like, you're not playing the game by the Green Knight's rules.
You didn't give me any more context
what
as
are
to what I'm supposed to be doing.
What are these instructions? Like, at least, like, for the benefit of a story or for a film, we need to see an actual progression of why these things are happening. Otherwise, we just get, like, as you're saying, vignetti bullshit.
It's like, just, like, throw whatever in. It's all like, go get, like, the green stone of earth and the red stone of fire. I don't know, some bullshit. There's a water stone in there, whatever, and then... and then play the ocarina and it'll open the door.
There you
Just
go.
whatever. I don't know. You
How do I get
give
from
me something?
Where do I need to go from point A to point B? I need a roadmap for
But
this
all
shit.
he tells him is that you have a year to grow a beard, which he never does, by the way.
No.
And that's basically all we learned. And
The king he sets up Gawain with his ceremonial armor, not actual armor, as we find out when he gets
Yeah.
into an actual fight at one point.
Yeah.
Gawain, the king's armor. You know it's only ceremonial. He hadn't fought in years. It's not heavy plate.
You mean like the Black Knights?
But you'll be lighter on your feet.
Great if he asked me to dance.
Like, what a dick move that is.
The transition out of this scene to the rest of the movie is quite funny, where Arthur goes like, "And now let the feast begin," and everyone cheers, and then Gawain basically looks directly at the camera and says,
I don't think I'm hungry.
the facts of life.
Yeah.
Not the facts of life. What was that? Was the best of times?
Oh, I
couldn't remember.
Check out our episode on the best of times to get the da-da-da.
But yeah, so Gawain is out on his quest, his epic quest. Who knows how much time has passed?
You know what? For it being a year, there's one part where they're in an area with cherry blossom trees.
Sure.
And I thought, okay, well, here's springtime. It would have been nice if we had maybe gone to like a snowy area to know that it's wintertime. And I'm like, that's how you convey the progression of time throughout this movie, especially if you're, filming around the hills of England. Like, it's a beautiful country. At the same time, it's a pretty bland-looking country if you're not careful with it.
Give the impression that like time has passed, like this movie just really is a series of vignettes and Gawain going and doing various things. Yeah, have there be like different weather for every scene or whatever. But I don't know, maybe fake snow is hard to get. But he's out, he's on his horse, he's got his ceremonial armor on, and his best friend Humphrey is there, or his indentured servant.
His squire, I guess.
His squire is there,
Yeah.
Humphrey, and they're going around, and the first thing Gawain does as an official knight is he stops to take a piss.
That's right.
And he says, "How do you relieve yourself in this?" And he gets handed a little piss tool.
Yep, like for undoing the little codpiece there.
We don't get more of an explanation on how that works,
but it comes back.
It does come back in a weird way.
And the way they set that up.
It's just like the 3 seashells in Demolition Man. You just have to understand that they know how it works.
Yeah.
And that's all. That's all you need to know.
Did you notice in this foresty path where he goes to take a leak, the next path over has clear tire tracks on it?
No, I didn't. That's funny.
So on their adventures, they encounter a unicorn that they keep chasing, and it keeps vanishing.
When I was going over my notes before the recording today, I got to that point. I'm all like, "Oh yeah, there was a unicorn." That ultimately comes to nothing.
There's a lot of shit here that doesn't come to anything.
But yeah, it's funny because they're roaming around, and Gawain says like, "Oh, I'm hungry. What did we bring?" And Humphrey says like, "Knights are supposed to catch their own food or requisition food from other people."
Yeah.
And then it's a very funny cut where he's just like, "Oh, I guess I'll go trap some rabbits. Look, my lord." And it's just a unicorn there.
Yeah.
And it's all like, oh, and Gawain starts rubbing his tummy, and he pulls out a knife and fork and ties a napkin around his neck or whatever.
Yeah, they chase it to a cliff wall, but then the unicorn just vanishes, and that's the last we see of the unicorn.
Yep. And I guess the implication is that because shortly after the unicorn disappears, like a magical tent appears out of nowhere, which they go into, and they say like, "Oh, I could go for some food," and some food appears out of nowhere. I could go for some wine appears out of nowhere. And then Humphrey goes, "I could go for some," and Gawain stops him, and I'm all like, "I'd like to know what Humphrey was about to say."
That's some bitches.
Some wenches. Some maidens fair.
Yeah.
Yes, but it turns out there's a sorceress who
Morgan Le Fay.
Morgan Le Fay, famed Arthurian
antagonist,
villain, Morgan Le Fay, who I was surprised to learn actually is a part of this original poem.
She cropped up everywhere in Arthurian legend. Yeah,
you couldn't throw a stick without
tripping over Morgan
Le Fay.
Yeah,
yes, but she shows up here, and Humphrey immediately recognizes her as she's the devil's decoy, and it's like, we know that this lady's up to no good. She doesn't even announce herself as Morgan Le Fay at this point. We know she's up to no good. At this point in time, all this character has done is ask for money.
Yeah.
For the food that they have taken themselves. And I like her line. She's all like, like a purse of money would pay for all of this. I'm all like, they weren't very specific back then, were they?
Yeah.
Just like any amount of money, as long as it's in a purse. That's the main thing that I'm concerned about here.
I was shocked when this scene ended without conflict. Like, our heroes break into the lair of one of the oldest villains in fiction, and they recognize her, but they're like, hey, we're on a quest, can you give us directions? And she's like, oh yeah, you're looking for this town, you take this road to get there, if you get to this spot, you've gone too far. And that's how that scene ends, and I'm like, that's it? She's not going to turn into like a demon or something? This isn't going to end in like a sword fight at any point? It was just a weird little introduction to Morgan Le Fay. She points them on their merry way, and then that's it.
Yeah, and like, what's their goal at this point? Are they trying to find the Green Knight's lair?
Good question.
I'm actually genuinely. I watched this movie
like, hey,
yesterday, and I'm genuinely not sure what they are setting out to do.
Don't they ask her about the Green Knight, like where they can find him?
Sure.
And then she says, oh yeah, go to this area in the coast, blow this horn, and it'll reveal the way.
But like, how much time do they have? It's like, because,
who knows?
Because they never specify how much time has already passed and how much time Gawain has left. Like, in a few scenes from now, he's going to say, like, my borrowed year is half over. And I'm all like, really? I thought it was, like, day 2.
Yeah.
There's no way of telling.
There's no scenes that are set at night at this point.
But they go down. I mean, it would have been impossible to see what was going on in a night scene with the way that this movie is transferring over to Tubi. So they go down these stairs to rocky cliffs,
Just
and there's
littered with all these science classroom skeletons.
and I mean, this scene is so Holy Grail coded.
Oh yeah.
There's just like this dangling animal horn trumpet blowing, hanging by the side of a cliff. Gawain goes over, starts blowing it, and
a little rainbow appears.
And then he stops blowing it and it goes away. And then it blows again, the rainbow comes back, and then it goes away.
Well, how do we solve this enchanted puzzle? It doesn't matter, because all that horn really supposed to do is summon the Black Knight.
The Black Knight, who it is very funny when they're just going like,
the
rainbow, the rainbow, and then like from off camera, it's all like, stop that!
What the fuck's going on?
Who's blowing my horn?
Yeah, what?
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, so the Black Knight has a gimpy mustachioid helmet and fish fins on the back of it. And
I like how he just announces himself as like the guardian of the trumpet. He never refers to himself as the Black Knight, but like mid-battle, Gawain starts calling him the Black Knight, and I'm all like, that's rather presumptuous of him. How does he doesn't even look that the armor doesn't even look that black. I guess maybe compared to Gawain's shiny
not protective armor,
floor model armor, so to speak.
Gawain
tries to be all chivalrous, and he throws his glove down, and the Black Knight takes his lance, and he does like a little like, ha-ha, got your glove. It's all very silly.
They duke it out. The fight escalates to the points where Gawain is getting dragged behind the Black Knight's horse. At one point, they're just running down a hill trying to have a sword fight, and I'm like, these poor guys can't see shit out of their helmets.
They have no idea what's going on.
Just some of the lamest, most exaggerated sword fighting I've ever seen in a movie.
We get like all of like the breathing sounds from like the Black Knight actor. He sounds like a tauntaun.
Yeah,
it's very weird. Like we're just like fighting back and forth with swords, and the Black Knight's just going like, like the entire time.
Yeah.
At one point in time, they throw their swords away and they just have a dagger fight, and it's just two grown men in full suits of armor fighting with tiny knives.
Looks great from far away.
Looks very awesome. Yeah,
looks
very
awful.
cool. Very cool stuff.
Gawain wins the fight, and the Black Knight is mortally wounded, and he says, like, okay, I will lead you to the kingdom of Lioness.
I'm dying. Take me back to my home. And they put him up on his horse, and they go through the fog. And Humphrey immediately falls asleep.
Yep, just dozes off, and he's out of the movie.
He's out of the movie for like a good chunk. For a while here.
I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess the implication is this kingdom of Lioness is sort of in the... I mean, it doesn't look like it, but they explain that it's like exists outside of space and time. It's like in the fairy realm or something.
Some sort of like enchanted kingdom where like
Unless you know the way.
Souls go to live or some bullshit
outside
or whatever.
outside of
Yeah.
time, you'll never be able to find your way unless like you're led there by someone or some horseshit like
This
that.
isn't from the poem, right? This
No,
is all.
this is them
all-
spinning their wheels
This is
and
them just like coming up with
brainstorming stuff. Yeah, which this poem should allow when you want to do a Sir Gawain the Green Knight adaptation, but
You got a lot of rope that
Yeah.
you gotta work with, but the Black Knight really shows his true colors
Mm-hmm.
when they get back to like the central court area.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Gawain, Humphrey is fucked off somewhere. He's presumably still snoozing in the fog, but the Black Knight gets there and all of his homies are there and it's all like. I'm dying. This man murdered me. Get him!
Yeah.
And it's all like, oh, well, I took you all the way home. Now I gotta run from all these people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Gawain is chased into the gatehouse where he's locked inside, and I guess in the nearby room, there's a lady there, Lynette.
The lady Lynette.
Yep, and she says, "Here, take this invisibility stone," and he does, and that's how he evades capture. That's how.
No, I don't need to read into that any further. She just had an invisibility stone, and we eventually learn that Lynette has some sort of like foresight. She's some sort of like mystical character. She's like, I always knew you would come, Gawain. I always knew that I would give you my ring, and then you would hide from it, and then you'd take me away from here. And we find out that like this is all part of the Green Knight's plan, but Morgan Le Fay has like interfered so that he's there too early.
Something like
or some shit.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but like this is all stuff that they say.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gives her the ring. She explains the ring. She says like you should take all this armor off. And he smiles and hands her his little piss tool.
Let's start with this one. I'll show you how to use it.
In a very odd
Yeah.
the cut. And then he wakes up in bed with his shirt off. He's all like, was it all a dream? Lynette! And it's at that moment we're all like, did she introduce herself? This is the moment where we're learning the character's name.
She just hit it and quit it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. She got out of there. She's all like, I know what to do with this.
Yeah. Like
clink and it all.
Look, this was fun, but like let's just keep it casual.
That would be a great visual gag where he hands her his piss tool and she just like unscrews one bolt and all of the armor just falls off on the floor.
So Gawain finds Lynette talking to this realm's queen, the elderly queen.
The wife of the Black Knight.
Yeah,
we later find out.
Yeah, she's mourning the Black Knight, and who she calls the greatest warrior who ever lived. And I'm like, lady, he was killed by a squire in fake armor. What the fuck are you talking about? Him being the greatest warrior?
He wasn't doing so great in that fight that we just saw. But I mean, maybe comparatively so.
Sure, yeah. He was the best fighter until they got a good look at Gawain.
But Gawain shows up and I guess like the Lady of Lyonnaise sees him and she's all like, "Hey, new hotness. You know what? Like fuck that Black
Stay
Knight.
here. You're new.
My husband was a piece of shit anyway. He was always terrible to me.
You will be our new Black Knight and all that entails, which includes
all of this, baby.
Yes. Yeah.
And
he's like, oh, hell no.
And then there's like a very awkward scene where Gawain and Lynette get to know each other a little bit better, where for some reason Lynette never makes eye contact with Gawain. All of her lines are spoken to like the wall.
Yeah.
Very odd choice for this actor here to do that. It really seemed like she didn't really care for Gawain all that much. It's just kind of all like, no, what you're supposed to be playing here is like instant love.
Yeah.
Love at first sight. And she
not even
she
taking the
seems
time to look at the
very
guy.
indifferent to what's going on.
Well, in her mind, she's probably just like, wait, we're in love. We just met. Oh well, that's her internal actor monologue there.
Yeah, like Gawain does say to her is all like, we have more than fate, we have love. And I wrote down here, you have love?
Yeah.
It feels like you just met her.
So
anyway, this movie's moving fast anyway.
Well, yeah, but like this sequence where they're trying to escape from the castle just goes on for fucking ever. It's our first like really extended fight sequence where there's like, just a big fight in the hallway. They're throwing people downstairs.
There's a servant carrying a huge tray of apples.
Yeah,
and I'm all like, I know what's gonna happen here.
That's right.
Because they couldn't get a fruit cart for this movie, so you had to make do. This is where the ADR really comes in, and there's just like hilarious moments where like the guards are all like, oh, I'm gonna get you, and like the voices don't really match. There's like some funny shit where like they're running up like cobblestone stairs to like the top of the
Yeah.
castle or whatever, and like Gawain's all like, we didn't lose them. And it's like, what do you mean? Of course you didn't lose them.
Yeah.
They're literally right behind you. You're in like a very small hallway.
Yeah, like, we'll be fine if we can get to the tallest tower. And I'm like, no, you're fucking not. I mean, you're gonna be stuck there. Lynette is that her name? Whatever.
I think her name is Lynette.
Lynette,
like
yeah.
like linen
Sure.
with a T.
Yeah. She's captured by her father.
I don't think I think that is a father.
Oh, a father?
I think
Okay.
that is a priestly father. I had the same thing too, where she runs
Okay.
up to this guy. We see this guy in like a couple of scenes where he's just
Like
giving,
spying on them
Yeah,
and
he's just giving like reaction shots, and I was confused too because she runs up to him and she says, "Father, help me," and he's all like, "You will die in the dungeon."
Okay,
and I'm
okay.
like, okay, I don't think this is literally her father.
It doesn't matter because he's
Doesn't
not
matter.
he's not a
character.
fucking character
No, he's not a
anyway
character.
in this.
We're talking about him way too much.
Yeah.
But Lynette lets Gawain escape by giving him the magic ring, which I thought only made him invisible, but for some reason it now transports him to a barren field.
He's outside of that kingdom that's squirreled away in that fantasy realm or what have you.
Even though he gets back there by horse
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Here's an idea. So the stone that she gives him turns people invisible when you clasp it in your hands. Like
Yeah,
you,
when
you
you're
have-
covering it.
Yeah, you have it in the palm of your hand and then you put your other hand over it. Why don't they just, I don't know, as a couple hold hands with the stone in between them?
No, he's gotta
Then they
go.
could have invisibly walked their way out of
Because
there.
she has to be rescued.
All right.
Because it's one of these stories
Yeah.
or whatever.
So-
Is it only when you're holding it in your hand? Because like surely if you kept it in your pocket, you would just be invisible the entire time.
Sure. I don't know.
Yeah, medieval jewelry.
So while all of this is going on, Morgan Le Fay is watching all the action through her crystal ball, and she's cackling away.
She's going, all is going according to my plan, I guess.
And that's when Sean Connery returns into the movie and berates Morgan Le Fay for interfering.
With my game,
With the game.
I've structured this game perfectly. All the pieces are in place,
Yeah.
and you're ruining it, Morgan.
So-
you're ruining my game.
So I'm going to blast you with a laser coming out of my finger and turn you into a red talking frog puppet.
And a toad she remains for like the rest of the movie.
And she seems fine with it.
She never seems to be bothered at all. It's always like, yeah, I've been a toad before. Joke's on you.
This is my plan all along.
Joke's on you. I prefer it.
Yeah.
Honestly, she's completely unbothered by being a toad, which is good because that's a wrap on Morgan Le Fay. She kind of doesn't come back.
Yeah.
And now the Green Knight is talking to Gawain through the crystal ball. He's all like, "You're fucking up, Gawain. You're not playing my game.
That ring doesn't belong to you." And
It's like,
she gave it to
she gave it to me.
Yeah.
You understand the concept of gifts, right?
Yeah, and
he's all like, "No, it's not the rules."
And,
It's like, are you going to explain the rules? It's all like, I have to go.
how about this instead? This instead, they just like breathes green smoke at him.
The more you cheat, the harder it becomes.
Cheat? What do you mean?
You're not playing my game, Gawain. You have a ring, and it does not belong to you.
But Lynette gave it to me.
So Gawain continues his quest. He meets a pack of monks and a friar who was once a pickpocket.
It's just Friar Tuck.
It's just
We're
Friar
just gonna
Tuck.
call him Friar Tuck.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not a character from any Arthurian text.
Yeah.
But like they just needed a Friar Tuck type character. He has a name, but
Yeah.
whatever. He's Friar Tuck.
Yeah, he hit it off really well because this friar character keeps coming back, even though he does fuck all really in this.
Yeah. Well, he introduces himself as like he's a friar, but he's a bit of a scoundrel because he steals Gawain's reign a couple of times, and then he mentions there's a lord named Fortinbras, and I stole a bunch of these jewels from him, and for some reason I'm hanging out with these silent monks who for some reason are all wearing those plastic neutral masks that
Yeah.
you see in any Spirit Halloween store, like the cheapest thing that you can get there. But yeah, I guess he's just hanging out with them because no one suspects a friar,
Yeah.
and he's going and he's thieving and he's just a scoundrel.
Yeah.
But he tells Gawain about like
A sage.
a sage in a cave.
Yeah.
And because Gawain says like, yeah, the Green Knight gave me like these 4 riddles. Riddles 4.
Well, you know who might know about that? The sage. He'll help you out. So he finds the sage in his cave working on his potions and such.
It's a little person actor,
Yep.
and he's hanging out with another little person actor. And the sage he just repeats like the same shit. It's all like, you're not playing by the rules. You have to follow the Green Knight's rules. Don't forget the game.
He just drops the knowledge. Oh yeah, you were supposed to leave that kingdom with Lynette. She was supposed to go with you. Like, how the fuck was he supposed to know that?
No one explained this to me. I ended up in Lyonnaise completely by happenstance.
Yeah, I was already planning on leaving with her. That was part of our mission? What? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
If someone had told me that,
Yeah.
then I could have done this. But yeah, and so the sage just, I guess, through magic transports him back to Lyonnaise, and like he keeps like repeating, remember the game, as if like that's like the key piece of information. And then Gawain just ambles out of the cave, and I'm going like, weren't you supposed to ask him about riddles? You never brought that up.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the whole point of you going here?
Yeah, so he gets a second chance in this mystery kingdom. He speed runs through one of the last challenges. Bolt of lightning strikes the Black Knight's grave, and then he springs to life. And Gawain strikes him down in one blow. And then Morgan Le Fay shows up in
Morgan Le Fay Toad is like laughing, and she's all like, "Ha what do you think of this, Gawain?"
And he smashes her,
and she turns into ceramic.
Ceramic.
She's a ceramic toad now. And maybe this happened. Maybe it's like a fever dream.
Yep.
Kind of hard to tell. And then he goes back to the city of Lyonnaise, and like
it's in ruins. Like
it's in ruins, and like everyone is covered in spider webs. Some of them are skeletons, and other times it's just the actors covered in cobwebs.
Yep.
Lynette is there, but she's aged.
Yep. Well, she's got a little bit of old age makeup on.
Yeah, well, she's got like the barest amount of old age makeup, so they can do that thing where like the frames of the movie remove and she becomes young and beautiful again. But this whole setup is very strange too, because I don't
know the rules.
Is everyone frozen or whatever? Like
how long has he been away from this kingdom for?
When he finds Lynette, she's like sitting on a throne or whatever, and she's all covered in
like vines and cobwebs
and stuff. And there's a nameless soldier next to her that is also frozen, but because of the way that the scene is set up, Gawain has to come in and physically move this guy to get to Lynette, and I'm just all like, oh, who's that guy? Oh, he's also frozen. Oh, okay. It took me, everything about this scene took me half a second to piece in what the fuck was going on.
But it doesn't seem like it matters, because they don't get unfrozen. He just takes Lynette out of the kingdom, takes her to like some shack in the woods, puts the stone on her, and then she returns to life in her young, beautiful self.
Yes.
At this point, Humphrey comes back into the movie.
He's
just like out and about.
He was just wandering around, and he immediately saw like, my lord, I tried to follow you, and it's all like, you were sleeping, motherfucker.
We all saw it.
So yeah, he literally has just rescued Lynette from one perilous situation, and as he's catching Humphrey up with what has happened in the movie so far, another bunch of assholes on horses show up and immediately kidnap Lilith again. And she immediately needs rescuing once more.
Yeah, this is where Peter Cushing comes into the movie. He's
Peter, yes.
Yeah, because he's like a vizier of.
He's not quite a. Yeah, I guess he has like a title, like a medieval title, but yeah, he's
the royal soothsayer or whatever.
Yes, he's the king's. He's King Fortinbras or Lord Fortinbras's
number 2
right-hand man or whatever. And and you know, this is Peter Cushing. Like, Star Wars had come out by this point in time, so like he's still absolutely the man. He worked with this director before, so yeah, he's here, but he's here basically to watch over the king's ne'er-do-well son, Oswald. Now Oswald is I need to look up this guy's name. He is played by Ronald Lacey, who you may remember as the Nazi whose face melts at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I would not remember that was him. I remember that scene.
Of course, because that scene is burned into the subconscious of every child who sat down and watched that movie. Yes.
So he's just a real piece of shit that wants Lynette to himself. And
so here's what's interesting. So jumping ahead a little bit. So Ronald Lacey is playing Oswald. He is the son of Lord Fortinbras, who is played by John Rhys-Davies, also from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, you mentioned that already.
So we have like a combination of these two actors. Now here's the interesting thing. In the original 1973 Gawain and the Green Knight movie, Ronald Lacey also plays this role. He's
Oh.
playing the same role again. Now, when he played it previously, he was 10 years younger. And in this movie, he's playing the same role, playing the son of John Rhys-Davies, an actor who is 9 years younger than he is.
Oh.
And it is really quite apparent. I mean, John Rhys-Davies has always been one of those actors who's like...
You can't quite peg how old he is.
This guy's
like-
always kind of been like an old guy or whatever. But for some reason in this movie, when they do like the close-up, he has like a scar over his eye or whatever. But I really clocked this all like, wow, Rhys-Davies is looking good in this. He's looking young. He's looking lithe.
He's energetic.
And
He's
maybe that has something to do with the fact that this old man is playing his son.
Jeez.
I just found that very strange.
Hey, when you find a role that you go hand in glove with, you know, I think like this director found his Oswald.
I guess, but it's like, I get that you're doing the remake and you like working with him, and he has some juice because Raiders of the Lost Ark is a popular movie. Find a different role for him to play.
Right.
Or cast an older actor to play his father. It's a very odd casting choice that sticks out.
Yeah, so Gawain and Humphrey sneak into the castle with a bunch of new soldier recruits. Off camera, I guess they tell such a wonderful story that it gets all of these recruits on their side because now they're just pals and ready to swear allegiance to Gawain.
I mean, it's that the story is off camera, but like the reaction of like the other guys is on camera.
Yeah.
So it's like a thing where it cuts to them and Gawain literally goes like, "So that's our story.
Yeah.
Will you help us?" And then one by one, they're all like, I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
Sure, yeah,
It's
yeah.
all like, great. Now he has like a bunch of guys working for him or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is around this time that we are actually introduced to John Rhys-Davies, who is playing with his toys on a large bigature set of a castle.
Like he's setting everything up like he's got like his mock battlefield and he's narrating it the entire time. It's like
in that booming, overly theatrical voice.
Oh, we lost so many friends that day.
Yeah.
And what I love about this scene is that Gawain has insulted Oswald. So Oswald is in the torture chamber. He's got him on the rack or whatever, and he's about to start torturing Gawain. And then someone comes down and says, "Your Lord Father has returned, and he's requested to see you." And Oswald's all like, "All right, just leave him here. I'll be right back." And then he goes up, and like as soon as he's there, it's like, "Father," John Rhys-Davies is all like, "Not now, Oswald."
Yeah.
And it's all like, "Motherfucker, you told me to come here."
yeah.
I love how he just like doesn't give a shit about his ne'er-do-well son.
Brigades advance! Guards move up to the attack! Infantry up there! Infantry up there! Father! Cannon fire decimating some of the cavalry! Advance! Advance! Not now I'm playing! Advance! And finally, I take the castle! But oh, what appalling losses! Particularly amongst our allies.
Father, I wanted to...
Not now, my son. I'm hungry.
John Rhys-Davies is only in 2 scenes of this movie, and he owns the fuck out of them.
This movie needed way more John Rhys-Davies.
Absolutely.
This movie needed way more Peter Cushing.
Yep.
Both of them are just completely wasted. We only get like a tiny nibble of both of them. But we needed a lot more. Needed a lot more Rhys-Davies in this movie because he gives it like a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
He gives it a little jolt of energy.
Absolutely.
Just by being like a loud shouting man.
Yeah.
Which he plays so well. Yeah.
So that evening, like a rival king shows up to offer like a truce to whatever ongoing war that he's having with John Rhys-Davies. And John Rhys-Davies says, "Hey, to seal the pact, I have this new female prisoner that I'll just hand to you as part of our negotiation deals." Oswald, who wanted Lynette for himself, gets drunk and makes his way to the tower to, you can
put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
But this is the exact same time that Gawain and his motley crew, which includes the friar, who we forgot to mention is also in the dungeon. Inexplicably, he
was there.
He got captured off screen, and now he's part of the crew.
It's all part of the game, man.
We all need like a loud, fat, drunk guy, drunk party animal on the team.
Yeah.
Who throws haymakers. So that's what Friar Tuck here is contributing to things.
Yeah.
But so they're going on the offensive, and they're gonna get Lynette out.
But during the process of Oswald sneaking into Lynette's tower, he knocks over a lantern or something, and we presume that they are both burned alive before Gawain can save them.
Well, that's what the movie tells us,
Yeah.
because it, like, crossfades to, like, the next day, and it says, like, neither of them could get out, so they just burned to death.
Yeah.
And I'm all like, oh, all right. Wow, that's kind of a dark route for this movie to take, but also kind of weirdly fitting for, like, tragic Arthurian legend type storytelling.
And it plays into one of those riddles that the Green Knight told him
Yes.
about, like to know like where there is joy, there is sorrow, or something like that. So yes, now Gawain is learning an important lesson like that, even though actually, no, yeah, it does play into that because he went to get Lynette out of that magic kingdom so she could die, apparently. Oh, how tragic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like, I think I'm slowly figuring out this riddles thing. This last one was a real stumper, though.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just don't know. And then Gawain gets all mopey and he leaves his boys behind.
Yeah.
He says, like, I gotta go solo from here on out. My heart is hurting, boys.
That's right.
And then the father starts going after him, and Humphrey's all like, no. He has to do this on his own. And I'm like, he does?
Yeah.
Where's he going?
Yeah.
Doesn't he have like a time frame?
Just pick a-
what are we even doing?
He just picks a direction to go into. He finds the castle of that rival king to John Rhys-Davies.
Bertilek.
Yes, now this is the area that pops up in all the Green Knight adaptations.
Well, here's the
Like-
most interesting thing that I read from the Wikipedia synopsis that I don't think has made it into any adaptation of this story that's been told before. According to Wikipedia, citation needed, the Green Knight is Bertilek, who has been transformed by Morgan Le Fay's magic to test the knights of Arthur's kingdom and also scare Guinevere, who's not even a character in this.
Yeah.
But like that was the most surprising thing I read, where I'm all like,
Oh.
the Green Knight isn't even like his own guy. He's this minor character in disguise.
That's news.
Okay.
That's news to me, says the director who directed this movie twice.
Yes. And
Didn't bother to brush
didn't
it
bother making it into any of this version, but we still, for some reason, included the current character of Bertilek.
Yeah.
He is still around.
So, Bertilek opens his castle doors to Gawain and says, welcome.
I mean, there's this,
mine is yours.
As you were saying earlier, there's this great bit with like the door porter.
Yeah.
He's all like, Gawain's all like, let me in, and the old man like pops his head up, and is all like, hold on, I'm coming, and he's jangling his keys, and then we hear like the steps down the thing,
and he opens the door and is like, go away!
Yeah. He does all that shit. He has to lower the drawbridge just to come out and go, get out of here. It's very, again, the movie needed more humor.
He goes back upstairs. And then as we find out in this kingdom, oh fuck! Lynette actually survived.
Yeah, it's a real Chewbacca and Rise of Skywalker type situation where it's all like, oh no, they died. Oh no, wait, they're fine. It's like less than 5 minutes later.
Yeah,
she is revealed to have survived, not a scratch on her.
Very hand wavy explains like, oh yeah, in the nick of time, Bertilek saved me. Yeah. You didn't see that, but we're telling you that's what happened.
Bertilek just an all around stand up dude. That's all he does, and it's like you assume. Like Lynette's like this lovely maiden. Every lord who gets his hands on her wants some of that. But like, there's like a scene where like Gawain and Lynette are getting a little smoochy. And
hey, Bertilek's fine with that.
And Bertilek just comes by and he just gives him like the double thumbs up, and he's all like, hey, I'm cool with this.
Yeah.
And like, are you going to be a character? Not really.
She was gifted to me as part of like a prisoner exchange as far as a truce, but then I gave her freedom to do whatever she wants, whether that's getting with me or not. That's fine. It's her.
Fine with me.
She's a free woman.
Bertilek, the original ally.
That's right.
And then his borrowed year is at an end. So he has to go and he has to seek out the Green Knight at his mound, at his kingdom under
the mossy cathedral.
The mossy hedge. That he lives in, that he squats in.
Yeah. There's a complete battle that we're just gonna like brush past because
Oswald has also survived.
Yeah.
Oswald apparently no one died in this fire.
Yeah.
Because half of his face is all burned up.
Oswald and his troops go to attack Gawain,
who has met back up with his boys, so it's almost like, why leave them behind in the first place if you were just gonna meet up again?
So we have a big epic battle scene where none of Gawain's guys have armor. Gawain's the only guy in actual armor in this.
Yeah, he got a better suit of armor now that actually presumably stops shit.
Yep.
They apparently start things off with like an honorable, chivalrous joust or whatever, but Oswald, being sneaky or whatever, has like a bow. There's a bowman named Casper,
Right, who kind of waddles when he walks.
Yeah, he's all like, shoot him in the back. And then Casper shoots Oswald's guy by accident. He says, run back, Casper. And then he's out of jousting guys, so he just says, charge. And yeah, the armies fight each other. And unsurprisingly, Gawain gets the better of Oswald, and the bowman is about to shoot Gawain in the back, but Peter Cushing, who's just chilling on a fucking
sedan,
chaise lounge or whatever.
Yeah, he's just like,
you know
fuck
what?
it.
I'm tired of
Yeah,
this. Well,
we're done with this.
He says it's like Oswald's one actual battle that he fought. At least he'll die with honor. He'll die the honorable way.
Sure.
And then he's just all like, all right, let's go. Come on, carry me away. Back to craft services for Peter.
So that's the end of the bad guy army, but who should appear on the battlefield but the Green Knight, who beckons Gawain to his fate. As Gawain says, like, well, this is it, boys, and he says goodbye to his friends Humphrey, the friar, and a random third guy who's just there to see him off too.
We learned so much, and Humphrey at this time is all like, when we set out, we were but children, and now I feel like we've grown 4 times over, and I'm all like, this is like day 3. Like it's just like, it really feels like no time has passed.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Gawain goes to his fate, and this is all. Apart from the Green Knight actually being Bertilek, a lot of this is taken directly from the poem as well, where the knight's like, put your head there, and then as he swings the axe,
Gawain flinches.
Gawain flinches, and that's an important part of the thing, where it's all like, oh, I didn't flinch when you did the thing.
You faced this like a man.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like a weird part of it. Oh, we forgot to mention, Lynette also gives him a magical stash. She's just full of magical bullshit.
Yep.
All of a sudden, but
there's a lot of that in fantasy.
But the sash is also part of the story as well,
right.
too. And this is the thing where it's like, if you wear this, you cannot be harmed. And he's just all like, that would have been great to know about the existence of this, like, several hours ago. But whatever, put it on me.
Now, at this point in the original story, the Green Knight goes to take his shot at Gawain's neck, but he never intends to behead him. All he wanted to do is to return where he was struck. So he just gives him a little nick in the neck, and he says, good on you, lad, for honoring your commitments, and you faced it with courage.
By the way, I'm Bertilek.
By the way, I'm Bertilek.
And I think the synopsis that I read was like, I'm purposefully cutting you a little bit because you are wearing the magical sash, and like, you should have divulged that. And Gawain is all like, I'm sorry. And the Green Knight's like, ha, my lad.
You're all right.
You're okay.
Get over here.
You're the diamond in the rough.
That's right.
Or what have you. But because this is a canon film, we gotta have one final fight with Connery.
Yeah, Connery is like, what the hell, you welched on your promise there. And then, they have a dumb fight where Gawain stabs him in the glaringly open weak spot.
Doesn't even stab him, just gives him a little slicey slice. But it's all like, this is the only reason why this part of Connery's chest is exposed.
It's his weak spot,
exactly. Yeah, it would be glowing. If this were the video game adaptation that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and then the Green Knight loses all of his green coloring and his sparkly luster, and he turns gray.
It's kind of cool. Kind of a cool effect for no money.
And then he turns into a shrinking puppet that sort of collapses in on itself before fading into nothingness. Yeah.
Yep. And then Gawain goes back to Lynette, and then for some reason she says, like, well, now that the story's over,
that was fun, but
that's fun. Like, I have like my own destiny or something or other. We can't be together.
Back to my mystical kingdom that you can never follow me to.
And so Ator gives her the ring, and
he gives her a little caress on the side of a cheek, and then in a very awkward edit, she turns into a bird and flies away.
And then it freeze frames on Gawain's face, and he just has like this look on his face, just like, the fuck?
Did I just fuck a bird?
Did I just fuck a bird, lady? And then the credits immediately roll.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it for the movie. No return to King Arthur or whoever the fuck. That's the quest of Sir Gawain.
Yeah, the whole point was that he was trying to like gain favor from like King Arthur or what have you or whatever. But no, that's just like a complete.
Well, you know what? King Arthur wanted some fucking stories to be told, and Gawain's got some doozies. They won't make a lick of sense.
It's a real weird one.
Yeah,
but it'll definitely fill up 10 minutes or so.
After that, King Arthur will just be like, does anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
What else? There's a couple of things we didn't talk about. When they're doing the siege on Oswald's castle. There's admittedly a pretty cool, if ridiculous, moment where someone fires a crossbow arrow at Gawain and he catches it. Catches it with his hand. It's done like very like 1980s, where it's like it's going way slower than it would, but it's just like he's able to just do that and just be all like, aha!
Oh, I thought it was a case where they just had a shot of him holding an arrow and then someone off camera yanking it away.
Of course, that's
but they did that in reverse. Yeah, like he's fucking Daredevil or something.
Exactly. Yeah, a skill that he apparently has that never comes back ever again in the movie.
One thing that I wanted to mention is their original plan for getting Lynette out of the tower involves them sealing her away in a rowboat. And the boat that they procure for this is just a little tiny wash tub that barely is able to fit Humphrey. And when there's a shot of him paddling this stupid thing in the moat, it looks so dinky.
When Gawain is going off to fight the Green Knight at the very end, there's an extended scene where he is lowered onto his horse with ropes.
Yep.
Which I get. I get that that's what you literally had to do back in the day to get these ridiculous metal men on top of living animals. There is absolutely no way to make this look cool.
Oh God, no! It's like ridiculous looking.
It's the dumbest looking thing, and it just adds like this layer of like, what were we even doing as a society? Back in like these medieval times, like it's like I don't want to get stabbed with a sword, so I'll surround myself in heavy metal. Oh, I got stabbed anyway because swords are flat. I forgot about that.
It's even more ridiculous because there's no one else in that castle courtyard that's also getting lowered onto a horse. It's a wide open shot from a crane where you just see one guy in the middle of the courtyard getting lowered onto the horse. Yeah.
I just want to mention some brief trivia. The director really apparently wanted Mark Hamill to play the role of Gawain, but Golan and Globus apparently put all of their money on Miles O'Keefe. They said, like, this is the guy that you have to cast.
Probably wanted to avoid the Luke Skywalker comparisons, but actually come to think of it, for most of the movie, Gawain is dressed like Luke Skywalker.
Just like Luke Skywalker, and it's a reunion with him and Peter Cushing. Well, I guess they never had any scenes together, but I don't know. They could have done something with that. And of course, the ironic thing about Miles O'Keefe getting cast in this is that his entire performance is dubbed over. By British actor Peter Firth, so he doesn't even use his full voice in this.
That was a British actor. I thought that was just him putting on a bullshit.
I don't think he could do it. I think that was the entire thing. I haven't seen the Ator movies. What I get from Miles O'Keefe, maybe not the most amount of range.
Let's just say model turned actor.
Right. Yeah. He was a football player. I think. The other interesting thing is that the USA DVD release of this movie is quite controversial because it is shown only in the 4:3 pan and scan picture, which is how we watched it on Tubi. This is the before. Like after the opening credits, it's in like even more of like a letterboxed type format. It's like you're watching like one of those CGI movies from back in the day. It thankfully gets larger, but apparently the only way you can watch a widescreen version of this movie is if you get the Polish DVD release. And also apparently this movie was never released in physical media of any kind in the United Kingdom. Arguably the market that cares about this type of bullshit the most. So very, very strange. I guess they were all like, it's the original or nothing for us. Like, we're not watching this sanitized American hogwash.
That's right. Maybe they knew that, hey, this isn't an actual King Arthur story anymore. It's not a proper adaptation.
Arthur.
That's right.
Get it out of here. We're not even going to bother.
All right. Well, Sword of the Valiant, the Gawain movie.
Close enough.
Yeah. Kaz, is this something? Or is it...
I mean, it is something. It's not a terribly exciting something. It is equal parts boring and silly. And the silly parts just make you wish that it was more silly. And the boring parts really make you wish that it was silly. Or anything, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge sucker for those sword and sorcery, barbarian knockoff B movies. Like maybe I went into this hoping that it would be something like that, but it is a little more earnest in what it's trying to do. Even though scene by scene, you can't really follow you can't follow the logic in what it's trying to do.
The real problem with this movie is you really have no idea what the fuck is going on, and it should be like a very straight A to B type plot line. And so like he has to face the Green Knight, and then some shit happens in between that, and that does happen. But
and to get to that point, there has to be like a progression from step A, B, C, D to get to that point at the end.
Yeah,
but it's just random bullshit as it gets to the major important beats. It's like they wrote these important scenes first, and then they've got like 4 other people to write an adventure scene.
Really, all that happens is like the Green Knight shows up, lays down the challenge, Gawain leaves, goes to a place, finds some asshole in a castle. The guy goes, aha! Gawain gets away. Goes to another place where another asshole in a castle is. Goes, ha ha ha! He gets away. Goes to the same guy again. And then the ending happens.
Exactly.
And it's really just, it's just kind of spinning its wheels until it gets to its conclusion, which is a bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah. And you can say the same for a lot of sword and sorcery fantasy movies from this era, but at least those ones have the good sense to be kind of cheesy and over the top to keep you entertained.
Yeah.
For a canon movie, it takes itself way too seriously, and it's too sloppy of a movie to be taken seriously. I will say that the movie, for a canon production, looks pretty good.
Like I said,
it's filmed in the English countryside. I'm surprised that they were allowed to film in and around some of these castles.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And in this era...
It looks impressive enough. It's just the story itself doesn't support it.
And in this era where, like, the most recent thing we've gotten to this is, like, there was, like, that Netflix movie with Millie Bobby Brown that came out last year where she's, like, a damsel and she has to fight a dragon or whatever.
Okay.
And I watched, like, 10 random minutes of it, and it's like... These people are just on like a green screen soundstage. Like they're just walking through like green walls, green tables. Like nothing is fucking here.
Yeah.
It does add a certain something to this movie to watch this. It's all like, no, these people filmed in castles.
Like actual
shit. That
actual locations, not a set. Yeah.
Yeah. That are probably from way back. People from medieval times probably lived in this shit,
Yeah.
So
like it looks cool enough for a canon feature. Yeah, it just doesn't. It's kind of like these locations and these actors wasted.
Faint praise.
Yeah.
Largely everyone is wasted in this. Yeah, all of like the cool people that you want to see, like Connery, Cushing, Rhys-Davies, they don't get enough to do, and it's just and you're just loaded down with Miles O'Keefe, who I'm sorry is not that.
Is no Mark Hamill.
Is no Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
And I guess ultimately that's what we've come down to. But there we go.
That's
the
it.
first one. Ba-da, ba-da. We really didn't. This couldn't have been less about James Bond.
Oh God, no. Complete polar opposite.
But hopefully the next 2 movies will have a bit more action in
Ooh,
them.
right.
But we had to cover this one because look at the fucking poster. Look at the poster.
You can't say no to something like that.
Absolutely not. But that was Sword of the Valiant, The Legend of Sir Gawain, and the Green Knight, directed by Stephen Weeks. If you enjoyed this episode, please listen to our back catalog of episodes. If you go further into the back catalog, you will notice that they are under the name of The Fuck Is This? Don't worry about it. It's the same show. It's Jameson and me, and sometimes another person, and we just talk about movies. But the thing that makes our podcast a little different is we have a little fun.
Because we're the ones doing it.
We're just having like a little
We're the
fun
ones
about
doing it.
Yeah, sometimes you listen to a podcast and it's other people talking about movies.
Boo.
On our show, it's us.
Yeah.
Just like this one.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank Eddie Lamb for his fantastic theme music. Oh, thanks, guys. I really like being part of the show. Get back in the corner, Eddie.
Oh.
Remember that bit from earlier?
Be nice to him.
Everyone be nice to Eddie. I know. You can follow us on all the social media. Not all the social media, but some of the social media. Instagram, Facebook.
Yep.
That's it. Those
Sure.
two.
Yep.
We're on that.
Now, yeah.
You can follow me. I'm Kaz Lesgard. You can follow me on Letterboxd.
Yep, you're Kaz Lesgard.
I'm Kaz Lesgard.
I'm Jameson Raptor. I have a YouTube channel called Uptown Slim Jim where you can watch my cartoons. And as Sean Connery is prone to say, "You're the man now, dog."
You're the man. You're the man.
You're
now,
the man
dog.
now.
You're the man now, dog.
You're the dog man now.